Hey, this is Pastor Curry, pastor of the Ezion Fair Baptist Church, Wilmington's most exciting church, the church that love ya and anything you can do about it. Today with Coffee with Curry, I'm excited. I'm excited because we're getting the opportunity to hear something really special today. We have invited Ms. Velda Potter to serve as a guest today on our show as she is making her rounds, making sure that the community is well aware of the various things that she would like to do as the next mayor for the city of Wilmington. Today, I'm honored to allow Ms. Nicole D. Surratt to come, who's a good friend of us and a good friend of this community, to come and interview her so that you will be able to hear untainted from me, but just allow someone else to just give you a voice to hear some of the answers that Ms. Potter would like to provide for the questions that she certainly is going to ask. I hope you would call somebody real quickly, tell them Coffee with Curry is on, and let's get after it.
Good morning, Delaware and surrounding areas. You are now tuned in to this week's Coffee with Curry. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. with new guests every week. So grab your cup of coffee and join us on Coffee with Curry.
Hello. My name is Nicole D. Surratt, and I am excited to serve as a guest host today on Coffee with Curry. I'm excited that I have an opportunity to interview Mrs. Velda Jones Potter, and you should know by now that she is running for mayor of Wilmington. So we're just going to have a fireside girl chat today. And, people see you, Velda, out in the public. You're doing different presentations and you have a vision for the role that you are running for at this point. But I think it's really nice to kind of see who you are behind the scenes. So we're just going to be really informal today, if that's all right with you.
That's great with me.
So let's just talk a little bit about who is Velda. So let's kind of start back and just kind of progress to where you are, maybe some of the things that people might be surprised to learn about you, because you're not just a political figure, right. and a servant is a better word. It's a better word because I know that. And so let's just kind of start there and then we'll just see where the conversation goes.
Right. Well, I'm a native of Wilmington. This is home for me. All my life, since we were 2 years old, I moved here with my family from West Virginia. My parents were both hail from West Virginia. And I grew up in our communities, East Side, Riverside, East Lawn Avenue. And I'm just a product of a village that included people who cared about the children in the neighborhood. The product of public schools where teachers knew every student, oftentimes knew your parent in some way or another, and played as much a role in, I'll say, molding who we were as individuals as they did in our academics. And so I'm someone who understands the value of that and the impact that had on me and my opportunities that I have had over the years. The opportunity to go to college, to get a degree in engineering, a field that had really literally no women and no real people of color in that field, at a university where there hadn't been any African American women receive a degree in engineering prior to my doing so. And I just understand the path that put me on for my family now, my husband, our two sons, for our family and for our future. And it's always been important to me that that door that was open for me, that I open it even wider for other people. And so that's the spirit that sort of led me to transition from a career in the corporate world. I worked for DuPont for 17 years before getting real direct exposure to and involvement in public service with Mayor Sills as Director of Finance. And I think it was that just sort of sparked that part of me that cares about what happens to other people. And since then, that's just been where my heart and where my passion has been, to try to help make life better for others.
You know, as you were speaking and you talked about being the first, being the first in terms of an engineering degree, the first in that field as a specialty, the first as a woman of color, there are so many extensions of that, and because the good thing about being first, and I've heard you say this before because we have history, is that if you're the first, that means you're setting it up so that there are people to follow. And I really appreciated when you said, you're not just opening the door wide, you're opening the door wider. And so you have a bigger vision, which is moving you towards this position as mayor of Wilmington. And I just think that's so great, because sometimes we, quote unquote, we arrive, we go through things and we just kind of keep it to ourselves. And it's like, okay, I got mine, you got to figure out how to get yours. And that has never been my experience with you. And one of the things that I want people to know is the Velda that you see here on this program today, if you meet her out in the supermarket, if you meet her here or there, she is the same in person, whether it's something personal, whether it's professional. And a lot of people have a difficult time doing that. They put up one face, one front in certain situations, and then in other situations, they're like, oh my goodness, who are you? Right. And so I appreciate that consistency, and I believe your message has been the same. This is, I care. What happened, the opportunities that were available to me, I want to make sure that those opportunities plus 10,000 more are available to the next generation and the generations after that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I have, as I look back over the years, and just sort of reflect on the ways in which that has manifest, surely in some of the work itself and in what myself and the teams that I've worked with have been able to produce. In DuPont even, let's just start there, even before, really being in the public realm, there were two areas that I really focused on. This was aside from the engineering work and the business work and the stuff that you do is just part of the job. But in addition, there were two things that I was very much involved and instrumental in. One was the Black Women's Network. There weren't many Black women at DuPont, and especially not at all, and in professional roles. And the upward mobility just wasn't happening much. And there, a lot of times women felt isolated. And the Black Women's Network, we started just what it was, a network. And so the Martin Luther King Day of Celebration that DuPont then sponsored for years after was born out of that. A major diversity initiative that DuPont put in place was born out of women speaking up and our collective voice conveying to the company that, it's not happening and we need to see it happen.
Right.
That it was a time when childcare and things like that were like you on your own. Almost like don't even put a picture that you have a family in your office.
Wow.
I mean, those were sort of the times. If you wanted to be viewed as a professional, you almost had to deny that personal life part of you because it would be presumed that you're not taking your career seriously. Wasn't the same for men in the organization.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so I served on a company-wide task force that brought the very first on-site childcare center to the DuPont company.
Oh.
We did some research. We did a field study that took us down to the military base down in Dover. It's one of the things, if people aren't aware, one of the things that we get from our federal government and the military in particular is a lot of technological advances. But frankly, we also got advances in things like that, which was a surprise to me. But we toured, we saw how well it was operated, and we replicated that at Barley Mill Plaza for folks who may remember all the places that the DuPont company had its locations: downtown, the experimental station, Barley Mill Plaza. And so it was right there at Barley Mill Plaza that the very first company-wide childcare center was placed. And so it broke that barrier for women to be able to manage all those aspects of their lives. And also that stigma of, we're no less serious about our careers. And so I reflect on, as I'm doing those things during those years, just doing it because it felt like it was the right thing to do. It made sense. We needed it. But now when I stop and I reflect back on it, it is reflective of what I understood and just felt in my gut was just important to make people's lives different.
Right.
And so, yeah, that consistency, I guess, is there.
Right.
Goes
right.
even back to that.
So that's very interesting as a person who used to run a child care center at home and at a place of business. We see the things that happen in 2023, but we don't know the backstory of how those things got to be. So to be instrumental in creating something like that on site, that's major. That's major that you were instrumental in that, and how those type of childcare situations continue to exist because somebody saw a need, somebody was willing to speak up and say, hey, yes, I work for the company. Yes, I'm a woman. I have a family and all of that. How can we bring these together so that, I can continue to do my best work? Right. Because if I don't have to worry about the care of my children and they're just a couple of units down on the property, right, how much of a difference that makes in terms of you being able to show up to work at 100%, right, knowing that your children are that close, that they're being taken care of. That's wow.
I didn't realize, I did realize it at the time because we felt the impact of it, but years later, when you look back, you really understand what that meant and what it took to do that. And I will tell you, it was as big a relief for men in the organization as it was for women. But it was women
right,
who stepped up, who pushed that, pushed that envelope, bumped up against those hurdles, and had the courage to say, this is needed, and basically sort of place the demand. And I think oftentimes that's where a lot of the change comes from.
Wow. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So we're getting ready to take a break in a little bit, and I certainly want to keep this conversation going about women in business, women in public service, and kind of how there's like a double standard. You know, you want people to be qualified, you want them to be passionate about what they do, to really have a heart for the people that they serve, but we continue to bump up against this, okay, but you're a woman, you know, show me 3 degrees that you have compared to a man who got a GED type thing. You know, kind of why do these discrepancies, why do they continue to happen? And so with your array of experience and your array of knowledge, you're the perfect person to address that. So we're going to take a break in a little bit, and I hope that you stay with us as we continue this conversation with Mrs. Velda Jones-Potter, and more about who she is, what this campaign means to her, and what she's trying to do for the city of Wilmington. So stay tuned. We will be right back shortly.
Join us at 9 a.m. on Facebook Live every Sunday by typing Ezion Fair Baptist Church.
Jesus felt what you're feeling, but he did not sin. Am I in the word? Have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin.
We are Wilmington's most exciting church.
We need volunteers, we need mentors, and we need sponsorship. So please think about donating to Duffy's Hope. Go on our website, duffyshopeinc.org, and donate that way. You can call us at 302-652-3532. We can take your payment over the phone. You can mail us a check at 100 West 10th Street, Suite number 9, Wilmington, Delaware, 19801. Also, you can donate your time. If you don't have money, donate your time. You know, come help us with the garden. You know, help us mentor or help be a tutor, things like that. So please think about donating to Duffy's Hope.
Welcome back to this section with Mrs. Velda Jones-Potter. Listen, I learned so much about her in that first segment. I just didn't know. So I'm glad that you are back for more. I'm excited about what we're going to talk about moving forward. So if you're just joining us, we were talking about her being a trailblazer We won't even mention how many years ago, but I certainly want to thank her for what she did in terms of DuPont and being instrumental in having the first child care center connected to DuPont. And during the break, we were talking about, Velda said that it was expected that women were to remove their wedding bands, wedding rings, to turn them around, and just to kind of put that personal side of their lives to the side as if they don't exist. Well, you know, if you're a mom, you're a mom. You don't turn that off. You can't turn that back. And we shouldn't have, that even shouldn't be an expectation.
That's right. So here's what I believe. We have a right and really an obligation to be our whole selves, wherever we are, in whatever circumstances we are. And to me, that's just fundamental. As an employer, you don't get the best of what that person has to bring if they have to check half of it at the door on their way in, whether it's their gender, whether it's their race, whether it's their family structure, whether it's their physical ability, whatever it is, whoever you are, we need you to bring your whole self.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's what that was all about. And, you know, you can only check so much of yourself at the door each day before it affects who you are and how you are when you enter that door.
Right.
And so that's just a fundamental belief that I hold very strongly. And I think that's why I interact with people the same no matter where, because I'm not checking any part of myself at the door.
Right.
I am bringing my whole self.
Right.
And I want for other people to be able to do that as well. So one of the things that I believe people will hear consistently from people who worked with me is their feeling and their freedom to do that. And when you allow that in people, you just liberate their potential.
Right.
I mean, so to me, it's like, why wouldn't we invite people with all aspects and welcome all aspects of who they are? Like, I don't get, why wouldn't we do that? And so, you know, interacting with people up and down an organization structure, I mean, it was nothing for me to sit down with Ed Woolard. He was the president. He was the CEO of the DuPont company, like 200,000 employees across the world. But that was no different than, well, you know, first couple of times you're a little bit nervous, but you get past that very quickly. And the custodian who at the end of the night was coming around and, you know, making sure that our workspace was good and clean and prepared for the next day. Right. To me, it's only natural to respect and value each of them.
Absolutely.
For who they are.
Right. And when you're showing up and you are required or requested to kind of, as you said, check yourself, then you're not showing up as your true authentic self. So again, you can't perform your best if you're not being authentic. But why would you even want to have somebody show up like that? And I understand that things, you know, that was kind of the mindset back then, and things have changed because of people like you who have insisted that they change. And I think you're absolutely right. We need everybody on board to make it work.
Right.
So from the CEO to the person who is the janitor, everybody matters.
Yes.
And I know for me personally, if I go into a supermarket and I see somebody sweeping, I say thank you.
Right.
Because what they do contribute to my experience in that store.
Absolutely.
My experience on the job.
Yes.
And just because that's your position doesn't take anything away from who
That's
you
right.
are. If you're the janitor, be the best janitor you can be the best CEO. And for you to have all of those type of experiences, for you to again be a trailblazer, I mean, you're just a full package, Ms. Velda. You got it going on like that. And so as we get closer to next fall's election, can you share a little bit about why now and why you?
It's really interesting. The why now, I think, has a lot to do with what we just talked about. The discreteness of the issue may be a little different. So the gender kind of differences in some ways, in terms of how people are brought into and unified, might have, depending on the circles you were in, maybe had more difference. Socioeconomic differences in and across our city. Cultural differences, depending on where you are in the city. The nature of some communities versus others in terms of what their current state is. From an infrastructure standpoint, how they look, some less or more in terms of beautification and the like. And very much the difference in value for and in treatment of the various parts of our city. So to me, that's the why now.
Right.
Because we have all that going on. All those differences that are not being brought together, and we don't have the unification, the unity among and across our city. We don't have the equitable resourcing in a way that lifts all aspects of our city. And we desperately need that. So the why now is, and we're seeing the effects of it in the statistics across the city, and where crime is higher in some places than others, where housing options are more varied and plentiful in some areas than others of our city. In public safety, beyond the major crimes, but just general public safety and responsiveness and things like that. So the why now is, if we continue along that path, it's not going to be a good place for us as a whole.
Right.
And I just really believe it is time for us to hit the pause button and relook at how we need to do things differently, so that our city as a whole is more of a collective community that values the differences, cultural, socioeconomic, all of those, and that cares universally about one another in a way that we are willing to support here for what it needs, and there for what it needs differently, and in this other community for what's important to them. And that means not to diminish any aspect of our city, but to work at really raising and lifting all.
Right.
So to me, that's the why now, is that if we don't do something different, we're not going to get any different result.
Right. So what I hear you saying, and you just went there, because if we continue to do the same thing and expect different results, we know that that's the definition of insanity.
Yes.
So it really sounds to me like we're talking about change.
Yes.
And change is never comfortable, but it's necessary for growth and development.
Yeah.
And based on your experiences, not only as a lifetime resident of the city, but things that you have seen, things that you have experienced from the inside and from the outside, you have a good handle on, a good foundation on not only why it needs to happen, but how we go about making that happen.
Yeah, I really believe so. And the foundation is, is in public service. You need to care about people, period. Full stop. You just need to care to start. It really needs to about people as a whole, and willing to put their interest first. Unapologetically do what's right for them. And notice I haven't said me or I in any of that.
Right.
Because that's not what matters if you're stepping into a role in public service. Now, you also better bring some capability to do it.
Right.
Or else you are stepping into a place I know you don't want to be. Because, you're front and center. People are relying on you. There's huge responsibility. So you better know something about what you're trying to do. My background in finance, in understanding and having managed finances at the state level as state treasurer through the worst recession since the Great Depression. People may or may not remember when President Barack Obama came into office in 2008. Coincidentally, we were sworn in on the same day. He obviously as President of the United States, and I as treasurer for the state of Delaware. And we were in the midst of the almost a run on banks, the housing failures were out the roof. People were losing their homes. And from that period, 2008 to 2010 was very tenuous from a financial standpoint for people as individuals and for municipalities and for this country. And I managed the state finances through that period. We maintained a AAA bond rating. We didn't skip a beat in meeting the state's financial obligations. I, as finance director for the city of Wilmington with Mayor Sills, I managed the revenue division, the Office of Management and Budget, the billing and collections department. During my time that I assisted Mayor Williams in his transition, I led that transition team. So in doing that, we studied every department within the city, and helped him develop a plan for moving each of those departments forward.
So can I just stop you right there? Look, we got to take a real quick break before I get in trouble. We'll be right back.
All right.
Delaware State University is not only an anchor HBCU in the state and across the nation, but is redefining the HBCU mission for today's world.
We are committed to long-term, consistent, and responsible growth. Do you have the app? Yes, I do.
I am pleased to be able to award the HBCU Sports Production Grant to Delaware State University.
And like so many of our brother and sister HBCU institutions across the country, offering one of the highest returns on investment in higher education.
Building the whole student, enhancing operational effectiveness, and improving the physical plan.
We're just hoping that her legacy will be a catalyst for change.
We are unafraid to be the people we are called to be.
Delaware State University rises in rankings.
Securing a healthy future. Our clarion call remains the same.
Becoming the most substantively diverse, contemporary, and unapologetic HBCU in the country.
I am so proud, so proud.
We are Delaware State University.
The Delaware Mortgage Relief Program can help homeowners in need. Created by the Delaware State Housing Authority, this grant program provides each eligible household with up to $50,000 in mortgage relief assistance. This money can be used for future or delinquent
Hi, this is Melody Hubert from Melodic Movements Performing Arts Program Incorporated, where our mission is to provide affordable and quality dance instruction and to teach our dancers a sense of purpose and appreciation for the arts. We would love to have you to join our dance family. For more information, please visit our website at melodicmovements.org or give us a call at 302-543-5257. We can't wait to meet you.
This is how we do it.
I know that you are still there because I'm on the edge of my seat trying to figure out and find out more of what Velda Jones-Potter is sharing about her experiences. And she was talking about her roles in different financial components, capacities. So
yes. So I think I was sharing with my experience coming in with Mayor Williams and the experience and exposure that gave me to all of the departments across the city, including the public safety departments and how they run and how they operate. And then my more recent experience as treasurer for the city of Wilmington, understanding all of the pension fund, the city's debt and treasury operation, the auditing function within the city, the legislative process. So I say all that to just sort of represent, in addition to caring, which is absolutely fundamental, the capability and the competence to come in and really you don't get the chance to like do a ramp up and get yourself together.
Hit the ground running.
You got to hit the ground running.
Right.
And I feel I'm confident I'm able to do that because of those experiences that I've had and the results that I've been able to bring as I've been in those roles. One of the things that I think people wonder about women in leadership roles is there a readiness to make tough decisions? That sort of baffles me because if you look over my career, I have taken some of the most challenging positions on things, and it took a decision to come to that. And so I am very comfortable with making a decision, with standing beside it, and with the process that I use to come to a decision. Collaborative and inclusive, because I want to hear from people. I guess that's that engineering part of me. You know, I don't want to jump to quick conclusion. I want to think it through. I want to be thorough. I want to understand it. But then when it, you know, becomes clear, okay, this is how we need to move, then this is how we need to move. And that's what I am looking forward to bring. And I believe that combination of caring and competency is what will help carry us forward as a whole city. Because we can't come together if the leader is almost sowing divisiveness. We can't come together if the leader doesn't see and understand the value in all the differences. So, you know, when I lived in Riverside, so I'm very comfortable on 23rd and Lamont and, you know, 7th and Pine. I've also been involved and had my children attend schools that are in and near the 8th district and involved on the west side. So there isn't a place in this city that I'm not comfortable engaging and getting input and participating and allowing their participation in where their community goes and what it needs. And I think we have not had enough of that of late.
Got it. So a while ago, I said something about you being the full package. So I hope that you're hearing that. What you said, I mean, you said a number of great nuggets, but you said the ability to care for people is just the start. Because there's more involved, but that's just kind of baseline. So you're sharing about your heart, that you care. You are sharing about your mind, that you are competent, that you are a decision maker, and you get the whole collaborative component to being a servant, a public servant. And I think that's a lot of times where people get it wrong. A lot of people want to be upfront, but a lot of people don't want to serve. And there's a difference.
There's a huge
You serve from a servant's heart. You do the things that are in the best interest of the people that you serve so that at night you can sleep. You know, that's really, really important. And, you know, the things that you're talking about today, Velda, they're not just for businesses or public service. It's individual decisions that people are making. I had a conversation this week, or maybe it was last week, with some health coaches. And we were talking about our pricing. And one of them was saying, well, I feel like I'm charging too much. And my other friend said, you know what? A man wouldn't have this conversation. A man would make the price, put it out there, and go with it. And we're still, 2023, second guessing ourselves as women, and what we bring to the table and what our services are worth. So I appreciate the fact that you're, you know, what you started years ago with DuPont and speaking up, that you're continuing to do that. And now you're looking to take it to another level. So we've got a few more minutes left together. So if you could just kind of briefly tell us kind of what's at stake. You know, sometimes people look at elections and they're like, oh, it's just another election. I don't really have a voice. My vote doesn't really count. Maybe I'll show up. Maybe I won't show up. But if you could just kind of tell people what's really at stake in this mayoral race.
I think this season of elections, including the mayoral race, but even beyond that, I think this season of elections, certainly at the federal level, at the national level, we see what's happening there. But in the state of Delaware, I think it is going to be very pivotal. I believe that because I think when people look around, too many people have been lulled into just a state of complacency and acceptance of situations that aren't really good for them. That if asked, they would give a list of things, maybe as long as their arm, that they're not happy with, or that they're not, opportunities that they're not getting, things that their community is missing. Everything from housing that's really affordable that people can raise their family with, to job opportunities, particularly with all the growth that's been happening and the development and the infrastructure, and how sort of limited the people who've been able to participate in that, how limited that's been, how decisions about their community. I think about the Gibraltar property over on Pennsylvania Avenue, and how that community is simply asking to be able to have a voice in what happens with that property, what it becomes, and not welcomed with their voice in that. And I think when people are not involved and included, we can end up anywhere. And the path that we're on is not taking us to a place that's really lifting people up. And so I think this election and this mayoral election is pivotal in that it really is at a crossroads of whether or not the people are going to, this is going to continue to be a city of and for and by the people who live here. Or is it going to more and more displace people who are residents, who have legacies here, who want opportunity here, but aren't finding it? And so I think this is I believe this election is going to determine that. It's going to determine whether or not, as I come to say, we are Wilmington, or is something else? Is it the buildings? Is it the facade? Is it the people who are moving in from the outside? And we welcome people, but we take care of home first. We need to do that. And I believe people, if asked, are not feeling as if home is being taken care of. That they and where they live generally is not being attended to in a caring kind of way. And a lot of what we see as challenges in our neighborhoods, crime, litter, things like that, get back to not having those basics. And I believe people are ready to get back to more of those and more of that. And I think this election will determine whether we move in that direction or whether we continue down the path that we're on. But I think the difference is so many people have sort of checked out of the process over these years. that this election cycle necessitates them getting back in and feeling the power of their participation. And I just believe that in and of itself will create such a reawakening and a new energy. And when you begin to get that, I mean, you can feel all the good stuff that you get.
I feel it in the studio.
So. Your children feel it when you're like revved up and you're excited and enthusiastic and your future feels good. Don't think that doesn't translate down to your children.
Right.
They feel that.
Right.
And that gives them confidence. That gives them hope. That gives them energy. And we owe it to them.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what this moment, I think that's what this movement is about.
I love the way that you said that it's a movement and that it's a reawakening. So I'm hopeful that viewers, if you're one of those people who feels like, over the years I've kind of been lulled, I've kind of been complacent, that this interview has been a reawakening for you, that it's a spark that is not going to go out, when the television shuts off, but that it's a spark that continues and really lights a fire under you to continue to follow Velda in this mayoral campaign, with this interview, to share it with others. Keep following her. She's everywhere, sharing, information about her vision.
Yes.
I truly believe that you are a visionary. I believe that, and I think people heard it today, that you do have a heart for the community and that you're about change and that you're the ideal person to be in position to make that change. And I'll just say that, the challenges that we have, so the teacher and me, we don't have a challenge without a change. If you look at that word, you got the CHA at the begin and the NGE at the end, and you're just a change agent, and you have been. And so thank you for this opportunity to interview you, and look for more. And thank you, Pastor Curry, for this opportunity, and best to you, Velda, in the days and months to come.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Tune in at 8 a.m. every Sunday for our worship services. Join us at 9 a.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live by typing Ezion Fair Baptist Church. We are Wilmington's most exciting church.
The drive to move forward. For some people, it's a part of who they are. And it's who we are too. For 130 years, Strayer University has been at the forefront of change, with programs that help students get and stay ahead, so you can keep striving.
There's something for everybody to do at EFBC. The Bible says, as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as a good stewards of God's wide-ranging grace. Consider joining a ministry. Here are a few. the music ministry, the praise team for men, the outreach ministry, TG SWAT for females, cheerleaders for females, the scholarship ministry, the new members ministry, the holy soldiers for males, the daughters of Zion for females, the usher ministry, the junior usher ministry, the youth praise team, the adult praise team, the golden angels for the seasoned saints, the clergy for the called, the media ministry, the greeters ministry, the men's ministry, the women's ministry, the evangelism ministry, and the missionary ministry. If you are interested in any of our 45 plus ministries, please call the church at 302-652-9114. It will be our staff's pleasure to connect you with a ministry of your choice.
News all across the nation. Wilmington's latest headlines. Advocating for change in the community. With Dr. C.T. Curry, Kobe Owens, and Shanae Darby. Tune in to The Source every Sunday at 5 p.m.
And we're back. What a great and phenomenal interview. I want to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Surratt for coming and sharing. What we're trying to do is to make sure you get all the information. It's more important that you get the information and you make a sound decision than for you to hear rumors and things of that nature. One of the things I kind of really enjoyed about the interview that we just enjoyed was I still cannot put it in my head. Why is it that we look at women differently than how we look at men? I am a male, and I'm all right with that. But when we have to look at women as saying, well, they're not qualified, they're too emotional, they don't have this, they don't have that, so therefore they work harder and stronger to try to prove themselves. The whole goal with me is always to present people for who they are. If you watch the Coffee with Curry show, you know I always start off by talking about the individual before I talk about the work. Because as I was listening today, I learned something new. I learned the heart of the servant. Because understanding the heart of the servant causes you to be able to work with the servant. I was taught as a young kid that if you show people your hand, they'll do what's required. But if you show a person your heart, they'll go way beyond. This is what I'm hoping that you'll be able to move forward. Ms. Potter has been certainly a true servant in this community and have done great work, and she stands on her own 2 feet. As a matter of fact, she stands taller than most other men or women do on stilts. I believe that. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Potter for coming on the show today and thank Ms. Surratt for doing the interview because at some point, we got to know the truth and we got to know the information that is needed. Until the next time we get together, may the Lord God bless you real good.
Thank you for watching this episode of Coffee with Curry. Tune in next week, Sunday at 11 a.m.